what makes the job worth it, because the pay certainly isn't. Neither are the long hours or my aching feet after a shift, or my sore back from lifting and moving residents. So, moments when Georgia says, I'm a daughter to her. Can you imagine a greater honour? Georgia had a tough time at first in the care home. It was a lot of confusion and worry for her about where she was due to her dementia. It was absolutely heartbreaking for her to be apart from her family, but it was also needed. They just couldn't cope anymore. So when the pandemic hit, we, the care staff, weren't prepared at all. Not enough PPE, a ban on family visits, staff off work sick, and our residents lonely and stuck indoors. And then the deaths, residents and staff. And of course, amidst the chaos of COVID, our activity provision suffered. Lockdown prevented us from doing our usual program. I didn't feel inspired or creative at all. I was exhausted, stressed, overwhelmed. Then Culture Box arrived. I remember it was just before Christmas. We got our first one in December 2020. It really took the pressure off. There was everything we needed in that box. During the first session, we made snowmen out of socks. One of the residents, Linda, didn't fancy the idea of making a snowman, so instead she made a sock puppet called Samantha. We had to start over Samantha's big droopy eyes and giant smile. And honestly, that felt like one of the first times life came back to the care home. What do you see when you imagine life in a care home? Frailty? Lifelessness? Death? Our care home was full of laughter, of community. It was full of love. But when COVID hit, that was all torn down. The home just went silent. We ran out of ideas, we stopped doing projects, we just didn't have it in us anymore. But then the laughter started coming back every month when we received the box. It was full of inspiring ideas to try out and unexpected things to talk about. We found out things about each other that just don't normally come up in conversation. I remember Ahmed talking about his life in Somalia, and Julie spoke about her trips around the globe. We reminisced about the past, about the good times, about life before. Well, everyone was so keen for the boxes to arrive. I remember one time I finally got some time off work. 2 weeks to myself, I thought, bliss at last. But then of course the box arrived and wasn't opened because I wasn't there. They waited. They didn't want to open it without me. So, yeah, the boxes brought fun back to the care home. We would sit out each afternoon with everything laid out in front of us, laughing, sharing stories, colouring, making, joy filling the room. There were additional pressures on me as activity coordinator. It was my responsibility to sort out all the communal and social aspects of the care home. So I had to adapt each project to each individual. This is called a person-centered approach, and while it's best practice, it can take its toll, like having to deal with the overwhelming emotions that come with struggling with a colouring exercise. But maybe these moments were important too, giving me a chance to bond with residents, when frustration turned to laughter as we tried out different ways of holding a pencil and different ways of drawing. I miss those moments. I really do. But in the end, it was a sticking plaster. They kept me going, kept me from leaving, even despite the long hours and the backbreaking work. But eventually that stickiness just wore away. And that's when I left. I left Linda. I left Ahmed. I left Georgia. It was a heartbreaking decision. Really, really hard. What would you have done?